Hello, Lone Wolves, how are you doing? This is the second part of the interview I had with Mohammed Umer. Mohammed Umer lives and works in Australia. He is a doctor and he's also a single father. And he has some very interesting views and experience to share with us. I upload this talk a little bit earlier than I would normally do because, tonight is New Year's Eve and I assume that many of you will be celebrating it. So then at least you have something to do during the afternoon and the morning. Depending on what time it is where you are. So I would say enjoy and I wish you a happy, solitary and very successful new year. Bye bye.
Remember the time we were standing on the rooftop. You shone as bright as the city before us.
Well, as far as I can hear, you're quite family oriented and you see that family is very important, so is responsibility and stuff like that. So what's your MGTOW, for example, men going their own way, is completely different. It's like dropping that whole responsibility, not starting a family, choosing for yourself, being an individual. It sounds like completely different than, well, for example, the Islamic view on how to live your life. Do you find a balance in that, or how do you see this?
Look, it's my views. Look, see, what happens is this: when I have a question, and life is full of questions because life is very, very complex, and people confuse religion with something totally different. My view of religion is very, very different from not only from Muslims but a lot of other religious people. And most religious people think, for example, you will hear this from Muslims very often, oh, Islam is a perfect way of life. Well, no, it's not, because the scripture or the religion is here. So the basic premise of religion is that you are in this life, you make choices, you take actions. And the religion comes and tells us when you die in this life, that is not the end. You will be resurrected and you will be held accountable for the choices you made. So that is what religion tells us. That is what Islam tells us. And that is what pretty much every religion says in one way or the other. Okay, resurrection may be different in different religions or different faiths, but generally speaking, that is so people confuse it. Oh, it's a perfect way of life, and Muslims say that very often. Well, it's not a perfect way of life. A religion gives you a general thematic direction. Okay, and then it stops because times change. You can't make a law which is valid for 500,000 years because situations change. Islamic view is responsibilities. So Quran says you were created so that God could see who is the best of your conduct, which is responsibility in every role that you have. So there was a question, why did God create us? So the scripture answers, and I'm talking as a Muslim, I'm responding to it as a Muslim person. And the Quran responds to that and answers that question. It says, God created you so he could see who is the best of your conduct, who is best of conduct amongst you. So the question is, and accountability in the judgment on the judgment day is, okay, Umer, what did you do in this situation? What choices did you make? What actions did you take in your circumstances? Did you discharge your responsibility properly or not to the best of your? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be reasonable according to your circumstances. And in that, taking care of the family is one of the most important things. But taking care of your parents is a very big thing for Muslims. It's like it's the most. So my mother is now 74. If I did not have the situation, if I did not have kids, I would have packed my bags and I would have been back home with her, taking care of her 1 year ago. It was very clear choice for me. I wouldn't care how much money I lose. I wouldn't care about it. I would be there because that is what my duty as a son is. But I can't do that because as much as I owe my responsibility to her, I also have 2 children. I have responsibility to them as well. So I'm stuck in the middle. and I don't like the situation because I would like to be there with her, taking care of her as a Muslim, as a son. That's my duty. But at the same time, as a father, it is also my duty to be there for my children.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. Fulfilling your responsibility is a very big thing. And in fact, if I fail to say my prayers regularly, God can forgive that because that's between me and God. But if I fail to discharge my responsibility towards my children, towards my parent, or towards my neighbor, or towards my clients, that God cannot forgive because that is their right. So God can't forgive something wrong that I've done to some other human being because that is not his to forgive. That is that person's to forgive me. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah. So that's responsibility is is a very big thing from Islamic point of view. You're responsible and accountable for every action, every choice you make.
Yeah, but how do you see responsibility combined with men going their own way? Do you have any views on that?
I have no views, man. I just know I am a dad, I am a son, I have to do my thing. That's what I know. If someone wants to give me a label, they can give me that. I've always been labeled as a heretic, so I don't care about the labels. So who cares? All I need to do is do my thing right and discharge my duty responsibly towards my children, towards the community where I live, towards my parent. And see, I look at MGTOW from MGTOW people. I see legally the risk for men is too much. So I'm not surprised men have responded this way. How else anybody would respond to this situation? It is such a bad deal for men in West. Why would anybody would get married?
Yeah, but you take away this way. You take away like a family, having a family, the responsibilities that come with that. And that's what I said in one of my videos, I think, is that the risk for becoming nihilistic is quite high. And I think, that could be problematic. That could be I think that's one of the biggest challenge in...
It will be eventually problematic because if men refuse to, if men, stay away from women because of multiple reasons. So #MeToo is one of the part of the reason. And then a legal risk which men have in West, because of how the laws are made. So it's the only logical choice. So I don't even understand why so many people are upset that men are not men do not want to be in any relationship. And the other big confusion that I do and misconception that I do want to clear, and I post very often on different videos, is that people think it's necessary to be married to lose in a divorce court and have your money siphoned off you. You don't have to be. It's not necessary for you to be married. If you have a common law relationship, you still will lose money to your partner. It is also not necessary to be cohabitating in the same house, because even if you're living 1,000 kilometers apart and the woman can prove that you were in relationship with her, you still are treated as partners. So the test that a court will use is, will a reasonable person perceive a man and a woman to be in a relationship? No, even if they were living 1,000 kilometers apart. And if the woman can show few emails, few gifts, and few tickets she flew to your place, doesn't matter if you were living in different cities or even countries. You were partner, you were in a relationship, and that's enough for the court to rule that half of your assets go to her. She doesn't want to be with you. So that's very important for men to understand. And this is not for me. I'm not trying to discourage men, but I think the deal is very, very, and that's the same reason that I just said to you that that is the reason I cannot have any other relationship in my life, because the laws are such that if I enter any other relationship and then that relationship breaks down, she gets to walk away with half of my money, and that's my children's right. It's not for hers to take. It's for my children. My time, my money, my life, my very being belong to my children. I have no other, interest, any other interest, to be honest. They are the priority. And I can't do anything which jeopardizes their future. So having another relationship with another woman actually puts my children's future and their safety at great risk and peril in financial terms.
Yeah.
So that is the reason and see, I'm an outsider. I can look at it and I say, oh, geez, man, this is not right. So I really don't understand why people invest are so surprised and upset that men do not want to be in relationship, because it's pretty obvious why they don't want to be in relationship. But it's again cognitive dissonance. They just want to, do not want to accept the facts.
Yeah. But would you have, if not, it's fine, but would you have any, like, maybe advice or something for men that, decide to stay alone, to not go into relationships or marriage?
Oh man, look, I can't, look, I can't say stay away from women or whatever, but I can tell that if you enter in a relationship, the deal for men, if anything goes south, is very, very bad for men. The deal for men is really bad. And if you can look up YouTube clips, and there's a book by the title of Men on Strike. This is a psychologist, Dr. Helen something. I don't remember her full name. And she's her YouTube. If you check on YouTube, Men on Strike, Dr. Helen, her interview will pop up, and she is explained in fantastic detail in her book why men have got such a bad deal and why they are on strike. And this book was written quite a few years ago. It's not a recent book. So, and the situation now is far worse than what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, so the advice is still like, I can understand. The thing I'm sometimes worrying about is, okay, and what's next? Like, more and more men decide to stay single. More women decide to stay single. Do you think this is the downfall or the decline of the Western civilization?
Oh, absolutely, it is. See, for any civilization to sustain itself, the basic and the most fundamental unit is the family unit, and the family unit has been destroyed. And when the family unit is destroyed, the kids are born into dysfunctional families, single mother households. They grow up to be dysfunctional individuals. Not all of them, of course, but the society continues to decline from there on. And you can see what's happening in France, what you can see in USA, these mass shooters. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And it's and that's what I tell people, that, hey, look, this is downfall of the civilizations. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And see, the thing is, this is so also very, very dangerous, because all this thing of feminism and original intent was very noble, women rights, that's perfectly fine, but what's happened is it's gone totally south. And see, there was this philosopher Cicero, and he said, a nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gates freely, his sly whispers rustling through the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. Cicero. So this is what feminism has become, because it's crumbling the civilization from within.
Yes.
And it's done under the guise of compassion. That is what makes it insidious.
Yes. Maybe you remember I made a video about like feminism in the Muslim world, and why, it was just like a view, like some kind of, You know, what do you think about? Do you think that it's
I,
contagious?
yeah, look, I don't think, yeah, look, it is contagious. There are people who are talking in those terms, but see when you look at a culture like Pakistan or Middle East, see, we've got, how long? You know, and I'm not talking only of Islam. I'm starting from Judaism because Islam is a continuation of Judaism, of those teachings. So we've got more than 5,000 years of tradition of family, a religious tradition of family behind our culture. It's not very easy to destroy it because Muslims are very, very closely tied to the religious faith. And there are problems with it. That's I'm not saying there's no problem, but the good thing is that the religion places utmost importance on family and on parents and taking care of the children. It's like one of the foremost duties for us, in the religious setup. So Middle East, Pakistan, India, even in the Hindu religion, family is really, really important. They've got pretty much exactly the same values as we have. So it's not easy to get rid of those values, and I don't think it will gain some traction, but I don't think it will become as destructive as it is in West, because now the other thing what is happening is, because West has experimented with it, the consequences are before everybody, that how the rights of men were violated in name of empowering women. Men were violated. They were vilified. So now the world knows what will happen anywhere where feminism is tried. And Ben Shapiro is a conservative, he's a Jew, and he says, and I think he sums it up very well. He says that some men acted like pigs, and the solution feminists came up with was, women should also act like pigs. So that's the wrong solution for men who act like pigs.
Yes.
So it's not going to work out eventually. Yeah. And he's right. I agree with him. He's fully, absolutely correct on that.
Well,
yeah. So I don't think it will get to that level where it has gotten to West, because because the culture is so strongly anchored in the religious tradition, which is not just Islamic 1400 years old. It actually goes back all the way to the origin, or to Judaism, and even before that to the Abrahamic faith, like actually, Prophet Abraham. So it's not an easy tradition to scratch off. It's not that easy to do it.
and even if like I think in Pakistan women can vote, right? Yeah.
They can
but-
vote, yeah.
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 Don't you think that's
They can.
someday? Well, when I look, for example, I've been to Indonesia for seven times, and that's why I made this video. It was basically based on my experiences in Indonesia. That you see a rise of feminism, and it's also like fed from outside influences, like Western influences.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, like women are always everywhere else. It's about 50% women. Don't you think that someday they will just like in the West wake up and use their power to, like, what you're saying about Islam? What is it? What's the difference between that and, for example, the Christian heritage of, the Christian history of the West for Europe, for example? Because Christianity obviously was too weak to withhold feminism, and then like Islam, you say Islam isn't.
Yeah. See, what happened was with West is that they've said, with the feminism, it was a process which was very, very overlapping and quite complex. But what happened was that they said, oh, family is not necessary.
Yeah, okay.
It's a patriarchal construct.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is how it all started. Okay. Now, if you go to Pakistan, no matter how many feminists are there and whatever they say, when it comes to family, everybody agrees, okay, we have to take care of children. And that is the reason there are very minimal daycare centers there, because there is no concept of, or old age homes or the nursing home. They're very, very few, very, very few, because So children will take care of parents, and parents will take care of their children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the cycle which goes on. So until unless you break down the family unit,
Well,
which is itself is rooted in religion, it's very hard for feminism to gain. It will gain some traction. It will have some repercussions, some ripples. It will send waves, but at this point in time, I don't see it taking over society the way it has happened in the West. And even in West, if you look at all these, if you look at communities which have who do not have a high divorce rate, and the families are still intact, which are those communities? They are all those communities which are closely knit and they are rooted in a religious tradition. For example, in USA, it's the Amish community. In Australia, it's the Plymouth Brethren community. And they are both rooted in a religious tradition.
Okay.
And see, the culture is a very, very big force. See, because, say, for example, in these communities, if you refuse to follow the tradition, you are essentially excommunicated. And there's a big cultural cost for anyone to pay if they decide to break free from that tradition. And same thing would happen in Pakistan or India or Middle East if anyone tried to break free from the tradition of caring for their children and or caring for their parents. It's a big social taboo. And see, the other thing of West is, oh, nothing is taboo. You should not criticize anyone. Well, we should, because criticism is what keeps you from becoming a monster. Because if there is no criticism, then you just remove the fear of being criticized, and then people start doing all sort of nut things. So criticism is necessary actually to keep you in check and to improve yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. Something I was looking for in my previous question, I think, well, there's a big difference also between, for example, Pakistan and Indonesia and Western countries like this one is, well, the cultures of collectivism and individualism. For example, the risk of being excommunicated from it's life-threatening, you know, and
it can be life-threatening.
Yes. I think it's not so black and white then, but here it doesn't matter. Like, if you're alone, if you're an individual, you can always, if you cannot survive, there's always a big daddy government that you can knock on its door and then it will help you. And I think that's also a very big difference, that right now you like, for example, in countries like Pakistan, you're dependent on each other and you're bound to each other by, in this case, a religious tradition, which is completely, I think almost completely eradicated in the West. Which, I think completely, like, for example, feminism, like we talked about in the beginning of this conversation, is cognitive dissonance based. Like, they're trying to be something what they are not. To keep it simple, you know, they're.
I think it's a multifaceted problem. It's very it's become a very, very complex beast, like a very complex, malignancy or a tumor for that matter. And it's got so many facets. But yes, a lot of terms are cliches, like freedom, equality. What do you mean equality? Like, what do you mean by equality? What do you mean by freedom? Nobody is free. We are all bound by laws of the society or the culture or the government, which are necessary to keep the society, the fabric of society, to keep it intact. So they are all cliches, because what do you mean equality? Am I equal to my boss in my company?
No.
Or if everybody is equal, why can't I go and spend the night in the White House? Why the president has access to the White House only?
Yeah.
So nobody's equal. There is no such thing as equality, like the way they portray. That's not equality. That's stupidity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Equality is that if I stand in the queue, then I should get served first if I'm the first in the queue. That is equality. That is justice.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but what they want is that 50% of jobs should be
Yes.
women. Well, how about 50% of mortalities and fatalities in wars should also be women? Why there are no? So when was the last time we saw a fully female SWAT team? There is no
No.
one. How about a full Marine Corps? There is no Marine unit which is exclusively females, full combat unit, like who actually goes and does the action. I'm not talking about sitting on a wireless and taking and relaying messages. I'm talking about active combat. And active combat requires a lot of physical strength.
Yeah.
You can't do it, because females are equal to men. No, they are not, because you have to lift a lot of weight. The gun weighs 10 kilograms or 8 kilograms. You have to have the survival pack, which can weigh, depending on what sort of service you're on, it can be anywhere from 28 kilograms to 38 kilograms. So what the hell are you talking about?
So there's no recognition
If
for
you-
the
if-
way
yeah.
things are and the differences that are exactly. Could it be that
Exactly,
maybe the Western countries are simply too rich, and that this is some kind of byproduct, some kind of perverse byproduct of being too rich and maybe having too much time and space to think about these ridiculous things?
I think they've got too much free time, and also the strength of feminism is an accident arising out of the weakness of the men. That is what strength of feminism is, because men did not stop feminism where they should have stood up and stopped them, like lowering the standards in the military for lifting gear, for doing the push-ups. And if you go, there's a YouTube video in which there's a discussion going on, Israeli, some sort of Senate or something, and there's an ex-colonel and there's a female ex-Israeli soldier, and the feminist women who are talking, they are talking like nonsense. They are talking nonsense that, when the ex-colonel says, men are stronger than women in lifting weights and stuff, like physical strength, she says, where are you getting these from? This is not fact. This is nonsense. Well, no, it's not nonsense. These are real
How
biological
can you deny
facts.
that?
But as I said, cognitive dissonance. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Disconnect from
Unbelievable.
That is what
But yeah, if you
But see, that's
Yeah.
what the job of real people is, men or women. They should have stopped them, but they didn't,
Yeah.
because they wanted to make them happy and they wanted
Of
their
course, but
votes.
if you give into something like that, you get this. That's the outcome.
Yes, absolutely. That's the outcome eventually. That's
Yeah. Well, I'm very curious where this is all going, you know. So
yeah. Oh well, I think it will bring more destruction. There will be more destruction. And see, my fear is this. See, we hear women all the time talking about toxic masculinity. And my fear is one day some group of men somewhere will decide to unleash their real toxic masculinity upon the women and on the men who help them and who empowered them unjustly, because they've been violating men's rights for too long now. They've been destroying, and someday someone is going to retaliate really bad, like that. You see these things happening for religious ideologies, for political ideologies, like that Andrei Breivik guy somewhere. I don't remember, it was Sweden
Norway.
or
Oh yeah,
was
it's
it
very
Denmark?
close to here. Yeah.
Norway, sorry. Yes. See, so that was political ideology. At some point in time, my prediction is you're going to see something like that because of feminism and because of the wrongs that were done to a man. A man or a group of men will unleash something really, really horrible. That is what my fear is. And it's only a matter of time before it happens. It's not if it will happen, it is only when it will happen. And I think it will happen in your and my lifetime.
Yeah.
And then they'll be sitting and they will be talking, oh, we wonder why it happened, or what went wrong. And that happens every time when these mass school
Yeah.
shootings. You know, single mommy, single independent, strong mommy. And when I say that, this is not to say that all, everything is wrong with mothers. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is it's a representation of something very, very deep and something which is very, very wrong in the society.
Yeah.
When your so many children are being raised by single parent households, something is very wrong with that society, because this is a pathological state for a society to be. And it will manifest very, very badly. And we are going to see this in our lifetimes.
Well, yeah, I would say always there comes a time for things to balance out, huh? And I think that's...
Yeah, see, what I say is when the problem becomes too big, it solves itself.
Yeah.
And that is what is going to happen with feminism. That is what is also going to happen with Islam. That's what I tell my Muslim friends. I said, look, you have a choice. You can have some introspection, self-reflection, and you can reform yourself. We can reform ourselves. And if we don't do it, someone else will come and do it from the outside. And you're not going to like it.
Yeah, but I think, that's a very good point. It's one or the other, huh?
Yeah.
And
you have no choice. You have to do it. The only choice you can make it, do you want to do it yourself willingly when you have the choice, or you want to make it so bad that someone from outside will come and do it for you? And that's not going to be a pretty solution. And same thing with that feminism eventually.
Still, I think it's quite an inner struggle that I personally, but I think many like guys who call themselves MGTOW have is, on the one hand, you want to do something about it, but on the other hand, you just want to leave it all, walk away, and just go your own way. Well, that's actually what MGTOW is all about in this case. But if you go your own way and do nothing about it, nothing will change. You hope maybe that from a distance you see the stuff collapse, and like you say, it like sorts itself out. But there's also maybe a way to do something. I don't know. It's another, like I said, it's another inner struggle, because why would you? Like, leave them be. That's a little bit the mindset, and I just take care of myself, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'll tell you what, people can whinge, and media can criticize MGTOW and say whatever they want to say. The reality is, when an individual chooses to stay away, there's no way for them to force you to do something. You've chosen to stay away, not to participate in the game. So the rules of the game can be enforced on you only if you are playing the game. But what MGTOW folks are doing is that they say, all right, we are not going to play the game at all. What are you going to do now? And you can see that the more people whinge about it and whine about it, the more coverage it is actually getting.
Yeah. Does
it make sense? So, it's great publicity for MGTOW folks. They are delivering the publicity to MGTOW, which they could never get themselves in their own right so quickly. So actually, they've helped the MGTOW community.
Yeah.
So why not? And to be honest, my response is, well, if men choose to do it, what is your problem? Why are you upset about it? Why are you criticizing them? They chose to stay away. Well, yeah, that's it. Live with it. It's their choice.
There's nothing. There's no arguments against MGTOW, like why it is so morally wrong or something like that, because it isn't.
No, it's not. Why it is wrong? There's no way it is wrong morally at any level. That's nonsensical. See, they just want to blame men. That is what they want to do. That's it. Nothing else.
The only thing they could say is, well, you're walking away from your responsibility. But yeah, you can say, well, responsibility, like you already said, you should come with some kind of you should get something in return, and that something is just like
Yeah. So there, if they are not prepared to, if the state is not prepared to give rights to
Mhm.
men, then they can't ask those same men to accept a
yes,
responsibility. So you want to give them all the responsibility, you want to enforce all the laws and the rules of the
Mhm.
game, but you do not want to give them any rights. So how is that going to work out? It's not going to work out, and that is why men are staying away from it. So it's the perfectly logical, and in fact the only logical choice available to these
yeah,
men. So if you ask me who's got my vote, MGTOW has got my vote. That's pretty
yeah,
clear because it's their logical
yeah,
choice, and they are doing it out of necessity. Not it is not something they like doing. As I said, for a man, it's a biological drive to raise a family and be responsible and care for people, for the family. When I say people, not just anybody, but
Mhm.
family. And that right has been taken away from them by vilifying them and taking away their rights and their authority as a
Mhm.
male.
yeah,
So they are by default oppressors, patriarchal, toxic, masculine people. So how they are bad, but they should take responsibility. Or it's like mutually contradictory statement and demands. It just does not make any sense
Mhm.
whatsoever.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm. yeah, yeah, yes. I think I agree. It's very well said, very well put. So the only thing that bothers me is like, okay, they've taken away the right to have at least the possibility to have a family in a normal like way. But
Mm.
what's next? Okay, you've gone your own way. Maybe you have a view on that, maybe not. Like, okay, for example, me, I'm going my own way. What should I do with my life?
Mhm.
Where do I find meaning? Um,
Meaning,
in
oh man, that's the
Yeah,
million
yeah,
dollar
yeah.
question.
Okay,
And I'll
for example, I don't choose to get a family. So, and
Mhm.
yeah, what's next? You know? I think that's a question that many
So
guys
some,
are.
I think that's an existential
Yeah.
question actually, because some people may be able to find some sort of meaningfulness in doing, some sort of religious
Mm.
work, some sort of volunteer work, some sort of become, I don't know, but those, I don't think that is a solution which will work for most of men, because as I said, it's a natural
Yeah.
desire and a yearning to raise a
Hmm.
family. We cannot eradicate that desire from within ourselves. And I am lucky that I have two children from this marriage, and that fulfills my purpose of, like, literally, see, if I was by
Hmm.
myself, I wouldn't have to work
Hmm.
so hard. I could just purchase a $50,000 shack in a small town somewhere and just spend rest of my life working 2 days a week.
Yeah, is that what you would do?
That makes sense? Yeah, but what is the incentive for me to work? Why am I thinking, okay, I have to work 5 years nonstop to buy a nice house and make some money? What is
Well,
the incentive? Why
yeah,
do I want to do that? It's my
yeah,
children, that they are the incentive
yeah.
for me. So if you don't have that, it can be very
Hmm.
hard to find real purpose in life. I don't know what the laws are in Holland, but because you could always consider, I don't know if it's illegal or not to have a surrogate mother for your children. I don't know, but you could
No, no,
look into
no.
that, I
I'd
suppose.
rather have no children
Oh, you
than doing something like that. So it's
no.
just that I think that many men are struggling with that question. I don't know. I agree. It's an existential question. Even if you're married and you have children, you can ask yourself the same question: what do I have to do with my life? And if children, I that's something I've always realized that children will give a person's life, not a man, but also a woman, purpose, and it's
Yeah,
very important. And if you don't
yeah,
have
that's true.
that, then there's something else that should give life meaning. For example, well, something very simple is
Oh,
like well, immersing myself in this material and this stuff, like producing videos and stuff like that. This gives my life
It
meaning
will,
to some
it will,
extent.
it will, yeah, it will work for a while, and while can be different for different
Yeah.
individuals. It could be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Eventually, see, here's the thing: the human nature, it yearns to evolve in whatever you are doing
Hmm.
today. Your soul and your nature will eventually make you want to evolve to the next upper level.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so and it could be it could take any direction from that. It will take one, or it could take any form. It could be, okay, you become um, a production house. You start doing this on a business level,
Hmm.
kind of thing, and you become so busy in developing your business you forget everything else in life. Or the other way it could happen is 5 years or 10 years from now, you say, okay, enough of this. I'm bored with it. What else? What is, see,
Mm.
creativity. The human soul and human nature yearns to be creative in
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
or the other. So this is your creativity. This is your biological
Mm.
drive of being
Yeah.
creative. See, and see, when you get children, the creativity drive is channeled through them, because every moment you spend on them, you're morphing and you're creating a better
Yeah.
individual. You're sculpting your children into next better version of
Yes.
them. Does it
It
make
makes
sense?
very,
You're
yeah,
helping them
it makes
evolve,
sense.
and that is your creativity with your children. But you don't have children, then you have to find some other creativity in
Mm.
your life. For you, for instance, it is starting this channel. You work really hard, you do research, you put your content very well together, and that satisfies
Yeah.
you. Because, and see, that's what I said, that nature yearns to be creative. It yearns to evolve to the next higher level of its existence and
Yeah.
creativity. So very soon you will find yourself bored with one thing or the other, and then you will want to evolve to the next
Hmm.
level. And that process keeps repeating itself over the years, over the decades.
Yes. Okay. So basically, creativity, one form of creativity, is a solution for, yeah, men who, well, have this question, this existential crisis maybe, or something like that. That staying
Yeah,
creative.
yeah.
It's something, yeah,
And people,
I experienced myself. Like doing this.
uh-huh,
Yeah, it's so cliche, but staying busy, immersing yourself in
yeah,
work. Um, well, that's something that really helps. That's something that it's
it does help.
yeah.
It
I don't
does
know
help.
if
It
you do. You
does.
know the philosopher Albert Camus?
No, no, I haven't heard
Do
this
you
name
know
before.
Sisyphus? Sisyphus. That is a Greek mythological character, and his life, he was like punished by the gods, and his punishment was
Hmm.
the rest of, for eternity, I believe, pushing up a rock,
Hmm.
pushing up
Hmm.
uphill, and when it was at the
Hmm.
top of the hill, it would roll down
Yeah.
again,
Oh, yeah.
and then the next thing
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
to do
yeah.
is pushing it
It's
up
a
again.
Yeah,
And
yeah. In the Western world, it's Peter Pan who never matures. He's stuck in his teenage life.
yeah, it's, well,
He never grows up. Similar to that. Yeah.
yeah, but in this case, it's more like the absurdity of life. That's
Yeah, that's
that
true.
that
Yeah, that's
somehow
true.
we, well, it looks like a punishment if you're punished for
Hmm.
eternity to push up a rock, and when it's on the top, it rolls down again, and you have to push it up again,
And you have to
start
start all over
all
again.
over again, and
Very,
it's,
very, 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 very boring
yeah, it's a very,
punishment.
yeah, but there are similarities between that and real life. I've
That's
yeah,
true.
I've done so many things already, doing projects and having different jobs and stuff like that. And it's really like, okay, then when you're finished, well, then you start all over again with something
What
else.
next?
But if you find joy in doing that, if you, it sounds stupid, but if you can find joy in pushing that rock up, then I think the problem is like solved. Then it's okay.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Look, if someone can find it enjoyable, then sure, yeah, by all means. I don't know if that's what will happen to most individuals, if they will find that activity enjoyable. And you can't say the rut of life, the rat race, doing same thing over and over again every day of your life. Um, yeah, but
Yeah, that's a rat race. Yeah, but
yeah,
if you're not,
it is. And see, that's the thing, because when I didn't have kids, it literally felt, my life literally felt like, as you've described in this myth, that, pushing a stone up to
yeah,
the hilltop and then start all over again. But once I got the kids, the same activity, which was very, very boring, it had a purpose to
all
it
right,
suddenly.
yes,
And that is the purpose, because now the incentive is that you sacrifice your time, your life, to give part of your soul to your children, to your family. You raise a family, you raise your family. If you do it right, you raise your family through your blood and sweat, and you give your soul to them. That is
yes.
how it happens.
In
And that is what gives purpose to the same mundane activities,
yes,
which are otherwise like pushing the same rock
yes.
uphill.
As
Yeah,
long as it has a purpose, it's okay. Then it's good. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I think
That is
yeah, yeah. I think we solved it, right?
yeah. Yeah. That's one. I suppose that's a part of trying to work it out, what it
Yes.
is all about. But I think it's, as I said, what anchors you in life is your relationships. And when I say relationships, like, not the the cliched version of relationships. I'm talking about your children, your parents, your brothers, sisters. Um, and the other part of that thing is that when you do that, when you fulfill your responsibility, it is not necessary that you get a good return on it, because it's perfectly possible you do everything right and you still do not get a good return, say, for example, from your siblings or your children, and they don't treat you the way in that well, the way you treated them. But see, that's the thing. So, for example, when I'm dying, and till the moment I've got some degree of cognition intact, I want to know that I did my best to do in my relationships. And one tick box I think I've checked out. I've checked it well with my father when he was sick and he was, in his last days. I did everything that I could do. I was there with him all that time. So that is one big satisfaction, big source of solace. And it's very weird to describe it this way, but because of that decision and the awareness that I made that decision to do that and follow that course of action, it serves as this store of energy that cannot be exhausted. And that's why when my, you know, ex-wife left me, and it just didn't matter to me, because my response was, oh, well, if I could live through the death of my father, through the loss of my father, then this is nowhere near that. It's bad, but it's nowhere near that. And it becomes like your solar, not solar cell, it's like a furnace, like a nuclear furnace, which is constantly creating energy.
Okay.
And it just gives you this strength, or it's just, I can't describe it. It's just very difficult to describe. It becomes a source of strength, for moral strength, because you know from within your heart and within the depths of your soul that you did the right thing. It doesn't matter what the eventual outcome was. Eventual outcome was my father passed away. I lost my father. I like cry for him whenever my kids are not here. For 2 years, almost 2 years, I've been crying pretty much every night when I'm alone at
Wow.
home. I can't sometimes go to sleep. That is how much I miss him. But at the same time, it serves as a source of energy, of, and it is not exhaustible. It just keeps me going non-stop.
Wow.
And the next step is doing the right thing for my children. And as I said, sometimes I'm dozing off. I'm tired. I want to sleep. But the right thing is to sacrifice my sleep and be a horse for my son. So I do that because at that very moment, that is what is the right thing for me to do. And that is what makes me very happy. And see, it's like that. Many a times, my son, he will turn around. He's in his sleep, and he'll hold my face with his both, tiny little hands, one on one cheek and the other hand on the other cheek. And in his sleep, half asleep, half awake, he will kiss me and he'll say, "I love you, Baba," and then he will go back to sleep.
Wow.
It's this is not, you cannot substitute this with anything else.
Yeah.
But yes, you have to give your soul to get to that level. There is no doubt. It's not easy. You have to spend energy. You have to spend time. You have to sacrifice your social life. I don't even consider it sacrifice because my social life is not important. What is important is what is my son's requirement and my daughter's requirement. That is what is important.
Yes.
I don't matter. See, when you have a family, me and I don't matter. What matters is children.
Yeah.
And what is their requirement. And that's the only right way to do it. You cannot do it. You cannot pull it off any other way. Any other way you do it, in the end, you will have regrets. This is the path in which the risk is minimum. And in the end, you still die, and you die with the satisfaction that you did your best to do the right thing. That is what matters.
Wow.
And you're all going to die.
Yeah, I will keep that in mind because well, I don't have, for example, I don't have any children, so I cannot,
I know.
I can understand your experiences, but I don't know how it exactly feels.
Words are not.
But what you say about that energy you get from the idea that you have done the right thing, well, that's interesting, and that's something. Yeah, well, it's important to be aware of, I think. So
I think so. And that's why I said that when your father says all these things, "Oh, I'm not your father," and change your name. He's looking for assurance from you.
I guess so.
That it's not happening. Son, I'm your son, you're my dad, you're stuck. Deal with it.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
You'll be really surprised 5 years from today, 2 years from today. You'll be very happy when you explore this possibility.
Yeah, I will think about it. Well, and anyway, thank you for listening to the story and giving your take on it, because
well, thank you very much for sharing your time and your story with me. I'm really grateful for that, and thank you for your time.